Later that night, Alan met up with Tim at one of their favorite drinking establishments, a bar-restaurant in the East 50s. Tim was already there, standing at the bar, when Alan came in. Tim spotted Alan and waved him over. Both were wearing sports jackets over T-shirts and jeans. Alan saw that Tim was already drinking. It looked like his favorite, a scotch and soda. Alan said, "Hope you didn't pay for that. My treat, remember?" "Didn't pay yet," Tim said, acquiescing to Alan's offer, though they both knew that Tim, already a partner in a major law firm specializing in corporate defense, earned at least 10 times more than he did. "Thanks again for putting me up," Alan said as the bartender came over. Alan ordered a gin martini, straight up, ultra dry, Bombay gin, lemon twist, his favorite. "I feel guilty I didn't offer more," Tim confessed. "How you getting around on Tuesday?" "Hey, you've done enough. Besides, I'm covered. One of my clients offered to drive me around in his friend's car." Alan told Tim of Johnny's offer to pick him up at the hospital, on the Upper East Side, take him to his apartment on the Upper West Side, where he'd get his luggage. He put the paper in his briefcase, preferring her oral summary.
"Last night, in the building in question,"
she began,
"Mr. Andrews, a resident of said building, was in the laundry room in the basement when he hears the service door open and close."
"The door with the broken lock."
"That one. A moment later, he sees a man pass by the door of the laundry room. He's sure he's the one who just came in. As he tells it, the man looks at him suspiciously, then walks quickly to the door leading to the stairway. He hears the man open and close that door and go up the stairs. And he describes the man as a tall, thin, young black man."
"Aha!" Alan was beginning to see the light at the end of Johnny's tunnel.
"Andrews is suspicious, so he looks at his watch and notes the time. It's 10:45.
"Nice timing," Alan interjected, and nice, for sure, was an understatement.
He thinks about alerting the doorman, but as he tells it, he asks himself, would I be as suspicious if the man was white? He decides he wouldn't be, so he doesn't report it. You see, he's a professor of sociology at NYU, a full professor.
That explains it. A bit of trying to get on Gina's good side with a conservative jab at political correctness.
A few minutes later, he leaves the basement. Then, about an hour later, he hears about the break-in and goes to the police, and gives them the same statement he gave me this afternoon, in writing.
Alan had suggested to Johnny on the phone that it could happen real soon if Johnny was willing to plead guilty. He was, and it did. The day after meeting with Alan and Johnny, Gina refiled charges on the Morgan case against Johnny in criminal court, the same charges as before, including the felonies. The arraignment was set for 2 days later at 10 a.m., with the Farley case also calendared to be heard at the same time. The following day, Alan and Johnny dropped by her office briefly for Johnny to sign the statement he had agreed to regarding the elements of Tim's alleged perjury, but dated 2 days later, the day after the expected guilty plea. The next day, at precisely 10 a.m. in criminal court, again before Judge Richardson, with Alan at his side and Gina to their left, Johnny pled guilty to the top felonies on the Morgan case, assaulting Mary Morgan and burglarizing her apartment. Before he pled, as per Gina's request granted by the judge, Johnny had raised his right hand, swearing to tell the truth and nothing but the truth, and thus, under oath, admitted, allocuted, to entering her apartment for the purpose of committing a felony, grand larceny, and then hitting her once. "Yes, I did assault Mary Morgan," he said, under penalty of perjury. Kathy was in the audience. At this point, her face sullen all over. She got up and left, but not before Gina had managed to sneak a curious glance at her at the moment of supposed truth. Tim was also in the audience, sitting far apart from Kathy. He and Kathy had briefly glanced at each other, once they had become aware of the presence of the other, and had nodded a merely cordial hello at the time, but did not speak. Tim, meanwhile, had noted with interest that Gina had gone to the trouble of having Johnny sworn in before he pled, but her tactic had barely dented the immense satisfaction he was feeling all over when Johnny was finished with his plea, and the judge indicated the plea had been accepted.